Welcome to Talkin' where professional musicians, engineers, producers, and techs like myself all get together, discuss guitar tones. Today, we're so proud to have here Mr. Sam Sims.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you, man? You good?
Doing great.
So I snagged you out of the hotel this morning, drug you out of bed.
It's all good.
Got you over here nice and early. I like to work early. I get up early.
So yeah, I do too at home. I was out a little late last night, so I was able to sleep in a little bit.
It's Vegas.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Exactly.
Well, we had your counterparts over here last night, and it was all really good and fun. And, you guys are all out with Bette Midler.
That's right. And having a great time, and, it's challenging and enjoyable and all, crazy all at the same time. So it's fun.
Yeah, I'll bet. And she's real nice. I mean,
oh, yeah, she's great. She's very demanding, but very, very cool.
Demanding's cool. Demanding's good.
Yeah.
Keeps everybody on their toes.
Exactly. I was just going to say that.
And you guys are all pros.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've been around, you're no shortage of demanding artists, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, your background, I was looking at some of your stuff going, oh my God, I didn't even realize, the Michael Jackson stuff.
Yeah. Got some Michael stuff, Janet stuff, Katie Lang.
Yeah, I saw
Justin
that. Diverse.
Timberlake.
Yeah, diverse.
Yeah.
And, our whole show's about talking about guitar tones, and of course we have a bass player.
All right.
Which is great, and we'll dive into that as I go along with the series, and maybe we can have you back sometime if you're ever back in town, or Skype or something. We'll get more in depth about tone. We're just going to touch on some things today, and discuss maybe how your tone evolved, and being with diverse artists, you might change amps from time to time, or basses depending on the needs.
Right.
Maybe Katie Lang was a little different than, the Michael Jackson rig, or did you stick to the same thing, or what were you using?
Back then I was still using my same amp, SWR stuff. It wasn't obviously not a heavy funk R&B rock thing like what I'm been used to playing, so it was very tone wise it was a bit subdued,
right.
Wasn't as aggressive as I like to play,
right
kind of like this gig as well. This bed thing is not as aggressive as I like,
you like a little grit in your tone. I mean,
yeah, I like the grit. I like the strings that I want you to hear the strings on the neck.
Right. Oh, right.
Just certain things, depending on the amount of treble or mid range you can put on the bass, to get that growl out of the bass. I mean, obviously you got to have a good bass.
Yeah, right. As I recall, we did a short time together with Matthew Morrison, and at that point you had me look into getting you an Ampeg endorsement. Which I don't think it ever panned out, and that's definitely growl.
Yeah,
and
it's funny you say that. I'm looking at them again now.
Really?
That particular amp, I wanted something. He was doing more of the like, I won't say oldies, but kind of 60s. You remember kind of pop stuff, but
right.
And I just looking for something a little more, again, not as aggressive, but kind of warm. That good 70s classic kind of sound, and I don't know if I can actually get that with the SWR stuff at that time, and I was ready to move on anyway, just because of some some other problems they were having. When Fender bought them, but
right. And what are you using now? Is it a Gens Benz? Did you go to
Gens Benz?
Awesome,
which I love. You can pretty much get anything out of it.
Really,
and it's really small. It's only it's probably only maybe 6-7 pounds or something like that.
That's awesome.
And amp's about this big, and it's awesome.
You can put that in your luggage.
What's that?
You can put it in your luggage and take it with you.
I do. It's like I have a little carry-on bag. I can just carry it on the plane if I need to. Yeah, it's really small.
Yeah.
Smaller than your computer, as a matter of fact.
That's great. And what bass are you using with that now?
I'm still using the Curbo 5-string, which is more like his, jazz bass.
Right.
It's got 2 Bartolini pickups in it, and it's very, jazz-oriented. Sounds like a jazz, but a little different.
Right.
And the Gens Benz, what I like about it is it had tubes.
Right.
You're able to, you could crank up the distortion if you wanted that. Right. And, or you can tone it down and have a really clean tone. It's very versatile to be so small. And, it only has, what is it? Bass, treble, mid range, which is exactly what I like.
Yeah. We were talking about that last night with Tarek about how he's starting to like less is more.
Yes. That's it.
And I was doing playing a track for him I just did, with a Fender Vibroverb. And one track, it didn't, even the amp builder couldn't believe it. It sounded like a Diesel, or a heavy Marshall, big rock thing. And then I just did a track that sounds like an old blues Robert Johnson, Jeff was in, he goes, well, that's Robert Johnson stuff right there. He goes, man, listen to that tone. I go, well, I did it with my 62 Hollywood Harmony with a 57 D-Armand pickup,
There you go.
I mean, diverse, but the amp, it's just so basic.
Yeah.
But it got two different, just crazy different tones.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I got to ask you, how was it working with Michael?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah. It's probably, I've never seen anyone like that on stage in my life. I mean, just the what's the word for it? The aura, his professionalism is just so on point. You got to be on point.
Yeah, right.
And you can't watch him, because if you watch him, you start making mistakes. I couldn't watch him anyway. I started looking down.
Just play.
Because he just sucks you in so much.
Right.
And tone wise, I mean, it was just out, and whatever, as loud as you could
just rage, right? Right.
Rage.
And that's awesome.
He loved it loud.
That's what I like. That's my forte, and it's difficult these days.
Yeah,
because nobody wants to hear loud.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, engineers,
right?
And especially me crossing from, Ronnie James Dio and Megadeth and even Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
Even my last days at Leonard Skinner, they were, Van Zandt was looking at me going, and I was going, kind of sorry. And not Ronnie, this was, the re-edition.
Yeah.
And still Johnny being there, and we still had, Ricky Medlock at that time and Huey. And it was quite loud,
Yeah.
But now it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I do have to tell you, when I went to work with Jay-Z and I went in there, and that was wide open.
Okay.
I could. Kilo Saunders was mixing front of house. He's a Grammy Award winning front of house guy. And we went into rehearsal before we did Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
And he said, we were at SIR in New York. And first of all, the guitar player was kind of an R&B cat, and it's really why they brought me in. They wanted that. They had just done the record 99, with 99 Problems on it. It was a big rock, huge, stuff. And this cat, he just didn't have it. And he wasn't getting it. So I came in, and he had the Marshalls, and I just cranked it up. But I got to tell you, the dudes, as far as the stage was, the players couldn't be that far from the amps. And, when you're that loud, it's hard to control your guitar,
right.
So I had to kind of train him with that. But in rehearsal, Kilo was going, Pops, I need it to be the level we're going to be at showtime. And I'm like, I got to tell you, man, it's just going to be crazy.
Right.
I mean, it's insane. And I have a video somewhere of a water bottle bouncing across one of the road cases, just raging. But it was so cool, because I was all kind of worried about going there, I never done a hip hop kind of thing. But the band was balls to the wall rock.
Yeah.
It was full on rock. That's and, cool. They're going, man, Pops, listen to that. Golly. And, we went out with U2, we went down to Australia, New Zealand with U2, and just raging, So I really dug that. But,
that's cool.
So, with tones now, it's hard. And I guess the bass is always going to be on stage. They're trying to get guitar players to be in a box somewhere.
It's off the stage, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and only time I've had my guitar, I should say, speakers not on the stage, they were under me.
Oh, right.
And that was a Backstreet Boy tour, and they didn't want anything on stage. And I didn't really have any space for it. So they had the stage was tarp was on that as well. The stage was kind of a grill. That makes sense.
Yeah, sure. And then it faces up at you.
It just was with attached the speakers. Coming up at me. So
that's okay.
Cool. I've never done that before. That was the only time I've ever done that. But for the most part, most sound engineers want to control the sound now. So I have my stuff on stage now. But I'm probably on two, just to give me some airspace behind me. But because you can't always get it with in-ears,
No, you can't. Got to feel it,
right?
And that's the thing. The whole with the bass is the feeling it. The bass players, and it's a struggle all the time. With Groban, Andre Manga. And awesome. I have an Aguilar, and it's like on a half. And I'm going, I can't, I'm sorry, but and even Josh wants it, for his crowd. He wants it real tame on stage, and I understand that, but it's so difficult for me. I come from that, wall of Marshalls, man. And, I even with Ronnie, with the bass rig, we had 4 8x10 stacked up. We had Geezer Butlers on one tour, Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath's old rig.
Yeah.
So we had 3 single 15s GKs on one side and then 3 on the other side. And in the middle, I had the 4 8x10 stacked long ways.
Oh my God.
It was like, I got to tell you, and a guitar player, we had 400-watt Marshalls all on and one facing at Ronnie the way he liked to hear it. And this is before in-ears, and monitor guys.
Right.
We had some of Brian Hendry, one of the best monitors in the world with live. Raging. He had cabinets and speakers everywhere. When you went Yo 1 2 into it, it came from every direction.
Yeah. Well, that's how you feel it. I mean, I love that.
Me too.
I mean, I want it too loud nowadays, but I mean, you can have a happy medium somewhere, and that's what I like about Michael. He had it loud. It was like a second PA.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And so, I mean, it was great because you could just play.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've had a tour like that, or a sound like that since then, So everything else is very tame, especially nowadays with the in-ears and the, But it's cool. I still try to work on my tone a lot, even for the in-ears, because you just gotta. I want everybody else to hear what I'm hearing. So
and it's difficult. The in-ears can sound so good. And the monitor guy can make it sound so different than the front of house guy.
Exactly.
And then that's where things get weird.
Exactly.
I have to especially listen to, Tarek and I, when we work together, I listen to the amp directly from the amp.
Yeah.
With no in-ears and nothing. And then I know, that's where it should be.
Yeah.
And we try to get the monitor desk as flat as possible.
Yeah.
And so that way we're not coloring anything or changing anything to make the front of house different, or we're hoping not to.
Right.
It is a challenge.
Well, and the cool thing about, at least on this gig, a lot of the soundmen lately, they've been miking my cabinet.
Yeah.
Because we obviously we're playing at a very low level, so they're still able to get the essence of whatever tone I'm getting.
Right.
From the amp, from the speaker.
Right.
They got a
That's
mic on the speakers. Got very old school rock and roll, but it went away for years, and now it seems to be coming back. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. It probably gets a little more of the grit. What are you using for a DI? Are you going into a DI first?
Actually, I'm coming right out of the amp.
Oh, really?
I'm coming right out of the Ginsberg.
I'll be darned.
Sounds incredible.
Wow.
You can have one switch. One switch is like you can have directly out of the amp,
right?
Which is very mid-rangey, kind of, very good for them, I guess.
Yeah, right.
And you can click it. You can get the EQ from the
head,
from the amp.
Oh, wow.
And it's just big. But it was so big, I had to go back to the other setting because Bette was like, "It's just it's so much bass. I can't." She said she couldn't hear me. She likes the point to be right, kind of like Jocko playing.
Yeah, right.
R&B music or something,
Right.
She wants that point, the mid range, to be right there so she can hear her notes, and she said she feels it better that way. So I changed my whole setting just for her.
Wow.
So it's cool. I had to dial in some low end. On the monitor desk, because now that I'm just coming straight out of the amp, just straight DI. It's flat,
flat. Right. Wow.
And the way they have it set up is very mid rangey, so that's cool. I'm working my way around it, but
that's it. Yeah,
I like it big and
right.
And but to make another note, for these big arenas that we play, I like I need to tone it down anyway. The bottom, I like to have a little more high to mid, so that it cuts in that room.
Yeah, the cut.
Because otherwise, it's
be boomy. It'd be too big a boomy.
Yeah, that drives me nuts and drives her nuts too.
Just rolls around.
Yeah.
So in the studio, when you're doing recording, and I guess if you have a choice, you like the Avalon direct boxes or Fireflies, or do you have a preference?
I do have a Firefly. As my interface, I do like I do have an Avalon at home, but I don't like it for bass for some reason. It's just too. Again, I like it kind of big and round. I've been using the Ginsbins.
Oh yeah,
straight into the console or straight into your interface to record, and everybody seems to be loving it.
Really?
Yeah, it's just warm. Those tubes.
Yeah,
it's quiet.
Yeah,
but otherwise, I have an old Mackie at home. I like the EQ settings on that as well. The same kind of thing. I try to keep it we depend on the track too.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But I try to keep it like kind of fat on the bottom end, and then enough top end so you can
get some cut.
So it cuts through the sound or the song or the speakers or whatever you're listening to.
Yeah, the Avalons have been very popular. A lot of bass players. Adam Blackstone, we used him.
Yeah.
And a lot of different guys I've used him with. So
yeah, I like them. I sometimes I have recorded, cut through the Mackie first, and then I run it back through the Avalon just to get a little more point on it for certain songs. But for the most part, I just can't seem to get. Maybe I don't understand all the settings on it, or just can't seem to get that nice, warm, fat thing that I like. Now I have used some certain church gigs that you just plug right into it and it sounds great.
Right.
But I have the 737.
Oh,
it's a little more involved.
Right.
So maybe could be my own ignorance as far as settings and knowing frequencies of tones and stuff. I just turn buttons until they sound good.
Well, I kind of do the same, and I think a lot of guys do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it down to a science, but I got to tell you, even with me tracking here now, starting a series, and like I was just talking about this vibro verb I've been tracking with, even that amp, when I came back to do the next track with a different guitar, the same mics, I'm going, oh, that's not right.
Right.
But then the other mic sounded great.
Right.
I'm like, well, hey, you know what? Just put it up and go.
Yeah.
And use the other ones, fill it in, and away you go. It's, I was talking to Jeff about it yesterday. It's like cooking.
Yeah.
One guy likes more salt, one guy likes more pepper.
Right.
There's a set of guidelines that we try to go by.
Yeah.
Kind of. And then we divert from that.
Exactly.
To all these different regions. And,
exactly. I find myself doing that in the studio. I might just cut the track, kind of flat at first, or at least where it's nice and it's right in the track. But then as you get more into it or they add more stuff to it, you might have to add some mid-range or something to make it cut a little more, or more bottom to fill it up a little more. It just depends on the engineer, I guess.
Yeah, and this is another whole thing, like with me doing this, I'm going, how do these guys make space? They always talk about making space for everything. I'm going, but I want my kick drum to have 100 cycles, but I want my bass to have 100 cycles.
You can't do it.
What do you, 110 and 120? And, these guys that do these mixes, man.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And I started messing around with 7. I bring up a channel strip on Pro Tools, 7-band EQ. I don't need 7 bands. Well, hang on. I think I do.
You do. Yeah.
And I have to start using these. Somebody said, you're going to put the high pass and this and low passes. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. It's science. And those guys that are mixing these records are spending, I would imagine they're spending hours on just to get the right kick sound or the right drum sound. Or
I've done sessions where, straight up tuning on guitars. Like I did I did a few Weezer sessions, I did a couple records with them. And I would come in the control room and go, oh my God, how are you getting that huge sound? Straight tuning.
Yeah.
None of this C sharp business.
Right.
Just massively huge. But anyways, awesome. All we can do is try, right?
Yeah. I'm not really that guy. I'm not as technical, as you could tell. I just know what feels good to me, and hopefully it feels good to the audience or the other musicians you're playing with, and to the artist, of course.
Yeah.
So, I'm not that technical guy,
Well, I got to tell you, we were talking. I asked you if you had any new projects, and you said not yet, but maybe soon. And I hope you get that going. I'd love to hear you do something.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Now that I'm on this tour, I have a little more time to kind of write and put some things together. So I want to do something.
I got to tell you, I know we're short of time today, so we're going to cut it short. But we'd love to have you back on sometime, and I thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here.
It's great to see you again.
You too.
And, don't let Tark beat you up too bad.
No, we give him more shit than he gives us,
And no matter what he says, he's really not from Santa Barbara.
Right. Yeah, we go, what?
I said to Ezra, I go, no offense to anyone.
Right.
It's been an ongoing joke for years.
Oh, I know.
When he said at one time he came in, I think it was the first Christina Aguilera when he came in to sub for Fish. And somebody said, where are you from, Tark? Santa Barbara. And they all looked at me and I went.
That's what we said, the same thing. We're like, no.
Anyways, again, thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks. Great to be here.
All right.